Friends, today we are going to talk about hydrogen fuel cell vehicles, HFCV in short. Hydrogen fuel cell vehicles also use the same type of electric motor to turn the wheels like in the case of battery operated electric vehicles. The main difference being that in the hydrogen fuel cell vehicle there is no huge bulky battery like in the case of electric powered battery operated vehicles, but instead here you have a hydrogen fuel cell stack. In the fuel cell, the hydrogen passes through a membrane to combine with oxygen from the air and produce electricity along with water vapor. What this means is that a fuel cell vehicle is technically a hybrid electric vehicle. That's why sometimes it is called fuel cell hybrid electric vehicle, HFCHEV. As per technical terminology or as per science, hydrogen is not actually a fuel. Hydrogen is actually an energy carrier. But why we feel hydrogen like a fuel for a common man is because, like in the case of petrol or diesel, you go to a filling station and fill hydrogen in your fuel tank. Most of the hydrogen cell vehicles also include regenerative braking to recapture the energy getting wasted. Challenge for a hydrogen fuel cell vehicle for the engineers is that it's okay for a steady power output, more suitable as a backup power source. The power requirement actually varies by many orders of magnitude from what it is required to keep a steady speed on a flat road and on a tough requirement of high acceleration requirements. The power from a hydrogen fuel cell may not be sufficient to take it to a fast moving highway speed. So such cars may add a high voltage low capacity battery also, which is very similar to the gasoline powered hybrid electric vehicles. It's there to give some supplement power for higher acceleration. The future of hydrogen powered vehicles show a good potential, although there are several challenges to overcome. The biggest advantage of a hydrogen powered fuel cell vehicle is that it's considered a clean energy solution because they emit only water vapor and they do not produce any sorts of greenhouse gases. The other advantage is that it can be refueled in a very short time, unlike in the case of electric vehicles. Like in the case of an internal combustion engine, here also the refueling can be done within maybe 5 minutes or less than 10 minutes time. Potentially longer range than the current electric vehicle can attain. It avoids need for heavy bulky batteries. Like in the case of an electric vehicle, hydrogen fuel cell vehicle also has a lot of advantages that the driving is very smooth, very powerful, with great acceleration, a great riding experience. You definitely have to encounter and overcome a great challenge today we are facing with regards to the production, storage, transport and dispensation of hydrogen. The development of a widespread hydrogen fueling infrastructure is a must. Definitely you can see that requires a lot of time and a lot of investment to come to a level of acceptance. Currently, the hydrogen fuel cell vehicles are extremely expensive, more expensive than electric vehicles also. So there is a lot more to do with regards to the cost. Though we say environmental cleanliness, it really depends on the way hydrogen is produced. Only green hydrogen really gives a big effect. Like in the case of electric vehicles also, the electricity what you're going to use should come from renewable energy sources, from the green energy sources. If you look at the overall efficiency of hydrogen production and usage, it needs to be really improved. However, as we progress on higher and higher economy of scale, definitely the cost is going to come down in future, and also due to various technological advancements, a lot of research is going around which can really bring down the cost. Definitely a lot of support is required from the government side with respect to the duty structure, the compensations. The government policies and incentives are going to really play a great role in the easy adaptation of hydrogen fuel cell vehicles in future. While the future of hydrogen fuel cell vehicles hold a great potential, the technological advancement is still very slow. It is still in the early stages and several challenges needs to be addressed. Some of these challenges include the cost reduction, the infrastructure development for the refueling, the improvement in the overall efficiency, etc. There's always a question regarding the safety of hydrogen fuel cell cars. Hydrogen, as many of you know, it is highly flammable. It has got a large range of flammability limit and highly explosive substance. So there is a lot of concerns regarding the safety. But let me tell you that hydrogen fuel cell vehicles are as safe as any other cars on the roads. The high pressure tanks to store hydrogen are designed to survive any type of shock or the highest speed crashes without breaking or leaking. So much so, the hydrogen fuel tanks are going to survive even if the whole car gets crashed and destroyed. That's the way it has been designed and manufactured. Though in relatively very small number of hydrogen fuel cell cars have been sold in the Western world, in the US specifically, there are hardly any reported accidents or safety concerns so far been reported. You may hear that hydrogen is the most abundant element in the universe, maybe in atomic level. But rarely hydrogen is found in this pure state. Creating hydrogen requires great level of energy to crack substances like methane or such hydrocarbons. But as compared to an electric vehicle, the only disadvantage is that you have to really refuel the hydrogen fuel cell vehicles. Like in the case of a internal combustion engine of gasoline or diesel, you have to visit a fuel station and fill the hydrogen. Unlike in the case of an electric vehicle, you can charge the vehicle at your home without really visiting a fueling station. Some of the cost comparison which I have seen in the reports in countries like US, when they compare the price of gasoline versus hydrogen, equivalent amount of gasoline for traveling a particular distance, hydrogen is almost twice as expensive as gasoline. Many technologies and manufacturers, they consider hydrogen as the fuel for the future and an important step in our journey towards carbon neutrality. So they really presume that the infrastructure is going to develop, the technology is going to develop. The technology development will bring down the cost of production of hydrogen, and more green hydrogen production is going to come. And with the help of government policies, incentives, definitely you can bring down the cost. And by increasing the economy of scale of production, from the reports you can see that overall hybrid electric vehicles currently tend to be the most cost effective, the lowest cost powertrain when you do a life cycle cost comparison. However, battery electric vehicles will reach the cost parity as battery prices drop in future. Similarly, hydrogen powered fuel cell electric vehicles will also tend to reach a cost parity with conventional vehicles as the prices of hydrogen also drops. Most important component which contributes to high cost to a hydrogen fuel cell vehicle is the fuel cell, which is the heart of the fuel cell vehicle. Efficiency of the fuel cell and the platinum used in the fuel cell. These fuel cell vehicles also use a polymer based electrolyte membrane, PEM. The hydrogen storage tanks to hold hydrogen at very high pressures of 700 bars. They are made of aluminum cylinder wrapped in carbon fiber with stainless steel fittings. No matter what, the emission debate for hydrogen fuel cell versus the electric vehicle versus the internal combustion engine can never be conclusive, because the way we produce electricity, most of the countries including India also depends almost 40% on coal-based electricity production. So definitely that is not a green energy. So this electricity, if you're using for electric cars, for recharging the batteries, or for production of hydrogen for hydrogen fuel cell vehicles, definitely it cannot really lead to a zero carbon vehicle. So we have a long way to travel to reach that zero carbon neutrality or a zero carbon vehicle achievement. Although if you per se compare the energy efficiency of the internal combustion engine versus the electric vehicle or the fuel cell vehicle, overall if you do an overall calculation, the pollution level is much less for electric vehicles and hydrogen fuel cell vehicles as compared to the internal combustion engine. But that really doesn't guarantee that we are reaching a carbon neutrality or zero carbon vehicles. In India today, the cost of green hydrogen is more than double when you compare with grey hydrogen. The renewable energy costs contribute to almost 60 to 70% of the cost of hydrogen production. It is very crucial to introduce some government incentives for the production of green hydrogen to bring down the cost of hydrogen in India. There is a lot more to be done to improve the efficiency of hydrogen fuel cell engines. The supply chain required for hydrogen production and distribution is very complex and requires coordination among multiple stakeholders, including energy providers, manufacturers, and government. Everyone has to step in. Overall, while there is still a lot more work to be done, there are reasons of optimism. we are actually moving in the right direction to promote green hydrogen as a key component in the sustainable energy scenario.